We're starting at page 53. I sure appreciate the use of old Skittles. Shane tugged on the brim of Benji's too big cowboy hat. I know it's rough sometimes letting someone else ride your horse. He lifted his daughter and planted her on Skittles' broad back, then faced Benji again. Bria will treat him right, I promise. It's okay, the boy kicked at the ground with the large toe of his boot, leaving behind a large gouge in the dirt. I can ride Rusty. Cassidy bit her lower lip to keep herself from speaking. She knew how much her son disliked riding that pot-bellied sway-back mule, not because Rusty was mean or difficult, page 54, as were many of his breed, but because he wasn't a horse. That, in Benji's opinion, made him the object of ridicule from his peers, like a kid forced to wear no-name sneakers while everyone else in school owned expensive celebrity-endorsed athletic shoes. Cassidy had been getting plenty of flack from Benji this past school semester. He complained nonstop about his discount store footwear. The thing was, she didn't have money to spare for the non-essentials. Her mother word came back to haunt her. If she had told Hoyt about Benji, she'd be able to collect child support from him, possibly for the years since Benji's birth. No, she wasn't about to share, much less risk losing custody of her son, and Hoyt would no doubt insist on some form of custody. You need a leg up too? Shane asked Benji. I got it. Nimble as a monkey, Benji grabbed the side of his saddle and scrambled up onto Rusty's back. Good job. Though Benji would argue differently, Skittles was barely better than the mule. One of the arena's oldest mounts, the horse slow and steady, gait, docile personality made him perfect for the novice like Bria. Truthfully, Benji was ready for a far more advanced horse, but he loved Skittles and was loath to part with his pal. I want to go, Daddy, Bria exclaimed gleefully and jiggled her turquoise cowboy boots. A tad on the chubby side, she sported a genuous mop of curly brown hair and an impish grin that reminded Cassidy a lot of Shane. Okay, give me a second. Shane patted Benji's leg. You want to ride in the arena or come with us to the round pen? With you, Benji gazed longingly at Skittles, not at Bria, who was combing her fingers through her horse's stringy mane. If it's okay with your mother. Shane glanced at Cassidy's green eyes twinkling. She knew once he'd been aware of her scrutiny the entire time and said nothing. Guess she wasn't nearly as clever as she thought. Rather than avoiding him, as her plan was when he first arrived, she'd gone about the arena with a business-as-usual approach. That was page 55. Here comes 56. These past few days she refused to let him think their kiss had been anything other than mild and meaningless. Truth be told, it rocked her to her core. She couldn't remember the time when a simple peck on the cheek had turned her limbs to liquid. Maybe her mother was right when she said Cassidy had gone too long without dating. What other reason could there be for that racing heart every time he neared? Cassidy's view of Shane, Bria, and Benji was obstructed when a woman astride a leggy thoroughbred rode up beside her. Cassidy, dearie, can you help me adjust my stirrups? They're a little long. Sure, she answered automatically and did as she requested. Mom, Benji hollered as if she'd been swallowed whole and not momentarily out of sight. Can I go with Mr. Shane? The name was a compromise. Cassidy insisted her son address adults formally, one of the few holdovers from her father's strict teachings. Shane, however, wanted Benji to call him by his first name. She stepped around the horse and onto the view. What if Shane asked Benji about his father? Better, what she was there to intercede. Then again, what if her going sent Shane the wrong message about them? Cassidy couldn't decide on the lesser evil. You're welcome to join us, Shane said affirmatively, if you're worried about him. I'm playing with my hair tonight. I used a new shampoo today, so it's driving me nuts. I'm not worried, not about Benji. Then come on, the more the merrier. I need the woman on the fourth thoroughbred leaned over the horse's neck. For Pete's sake, go with him, she said in a loud whisper. Don't ever turn down an invitation from a handsome man. 70 if she was a day. The woman was a regular at the Easy Money and one of the few English hunter-jumper riders. Rumor had it she married and divorced 4 times. Mom, Benji pleaded. Feeling pressured from all sides, Cassidy relented. Okay, fine. Good decision, the woman said. You won't regret it. Pulling on the reins, she turned the horse away and nudged him into a trot. Wrong, Cassidy thought as she caught up. Page 56, 57, 58. Was Shane, and she saw the satisfied grin. She regretted it already. He walked beside his daughter, holding on to the side of Skittles' brittle. He didn't look over at Cassidy, which somehow irritated her all the more. What, invite her and then ignore her? The next instant she reminded herself she couldn't care less. She had no interest in him. Luckily or unluckily, depending on one's opinion, no one was using the round pin. Benji was familiar with the drill. Entered the pin first, rode Dusty in a clockwise circle. Cassidy tugged at her short denim jacket snugger around her waist, the gesture the result of nerves and not a cool January breeze blowing in from the west. Daddy, I want to go ride by myself, Bria said, and her eyes were on Benji. I can do it. In a minute. First we need to get Skittles used to the pen. The old horse couldn't be more used to the bullpen if he had been born in it. Shane, Cassidy realized, was being overprotective, but not so overprotective he smothered Bria. He also engaged Benji in friendly conversation. Her son responded as he always did to attention from cowboys at the arena. He lit up. Page 59. Did Benji miss having a father in his life? Was she wrong to deny him? Race you! He passed Bria at a slow, bumpy trot. No, Benji, Cassidy warned. She climbed the fence to a built-in bench seat installed so parents and instructors could sit comfortably while monitoring the goings-on in the pen. Bria isn't ready to race yet. But I want to, the little girl protested and kicked Skittles in the sides. The saddle wide, thick cinch prevented her boots from making any real contact. Like father, like daughter, Cassidy decided. The little girl was fearless. Shane had always been like that. The quality had earned him a world championship bull riding title on 3 separate occasions. It also darn near cost him his life. Shane brought Skittles to a stop. If you can promise not to race, he told Bria, you can fly solo. The little girl stopped giggling in order to stare at him, an expression of bewilderment on her cherub face. I'm not flying, Daddy, I'm riding. Yes, you are, and doing well, I might add. Page 60. He adjusted the reins, placing them firmly between her plump fingers. Don't let go and don't move your hands all over the place. You'll pull on Skittles' mouth and he won't like it. Shane continued instructing his daughter for several minutes until she was fidgeting with excitement. Daddy, she whined, I'm ready. All right. He stepped back and let her go. Cassidy could see the struggle on his face. A parent, as always, understood what he was going through. It wasn't easy giving up the control, even evidently for Shane, who had been a father only last 4 months. Bria completed her first circuit of her own with no mishaps. The second and third progressed just as smoothly, considering Benji followed closely, daring her to go faster. Cassidy hadn't been aware that she let her thoughts drift until the bench shifted beneath her. With a loud creak, Shane plopped down right beside her. She hadn't realized how small that seat was. Her pulse quickly soared. Really? Cassidy pretended the Shane's proximity made no difference to her. She's a chip off the old block. Page 61. Indeed, Bria took to the horse riding as one might expect from an offspring of a rodeo champion. Not bad for a first time out. Her mother doesn't ride? It seemed a reasonable question to Cassidy, and not being nosy, though she was. Never been on a horse. Huh, I take it you didn't meet her on the circuit. He leaned back, pushing his cowboy hat off his face, giving her a less obstructive view of his profile. His strong, rugged features were pronounced in the bright afternoon sun, as was his scar. Both stole her breath. Actually, I did, right here. She was a friend that came to the Wild West rodeo days. Wow. Cassidy hadn't noticed his interest in anyone back then. She steered clear of Shane during the rodeos he attended. Less chance of people talking about her son and him hearing. Were you angry with Judy for not telling you about Bria? Of all the disagreements Cassidy's parents had since her father returned, not one had been about her mother lying to him about Liberty's father. Why was that? Surely, page 62, he was angry. She could easily imagine how furious Hoyt would be with her if he discovered her deception. Yeah, Shane admitted, at first I was angry, his tone gentle. Then I got over it once I met Bria. Cassidy doubted Hoyt would be as forgiving. Her glance returned to Bria. She's adorable. She's something else, all right. I was scared to death she'd hate me. Be mad at me for abandoning her all those years. How could she? You didn't know about her. I wasn't sure she'd understand, but turns out I didn't need to worry. We hit it off from the start, like she'd always been part of my life. Was she upset with her mother? That possibility concerned Cassidy almost as much. No, Judy and I concocted a story to tell her. She's accepted it. I suppose because she's 4. Like Cassidy's sister, Liberty had accepted the story their mother had made up. Also, like Benji, when Cassidy put off his occasional queries. Page 63. And Judy willingly shared custody with you? Shane gave Cassidy a curious look. She is. When he didn't ask why Cassidy wanted to know, she pushed on. What changed her mind? He raised his eyebrows. His curiosity noticeably increased. Still, he didn't ask. The accident and me walking away from rodeoing. When I decided to settle down, she thought maybe I'd grown up enough to be a father. Have you? He laughed good-naturedly. Depends on who you ask. I think you have, Cassidy said quite seriously. You're not the same man I once knew. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. I meant it as one. A spark of affection flashed in her eyes, causing her breath to hitch. They were very close, so close she could discern each and every laugh line bracketing his eyes, feeling that raw energy emanating from him. Page 63, going to 64. Since the weighty pull of their mutual attraction, it wasn't easy to resist. What about Benji's father, he asked. Is he in the picture? He isn't. And like that, the attraction fizzled. Shane had ventured into forbidden territory. Sorry, she said. I have to go. We have to go. Benji, she called to her son. Grandma's fixing dinner. Oh, Mom, not yet. Cassidy stood and realized too late that she caught between Shane's knees and the fence railing. She couldn't pass unless he allowed it. Would he? Her gaze was drawn to his handsome face. Stay, he said in a voice warm like honey. Please? We can't. You haven't given me a chance to apologize. Before she could ask for what, 2 high-pitched squeals split the air, the first from Skittles, the second from Bria. In a flash, Shane vaulted up from the bench. Cassidy grabbed the wooden seat before losing her balance. She twisted sideways just in time to see her reach and Skittles at his daughter's side. I'm sorry, Benji hung his head. It's all right, buddy. Shane held Bria tight in his arms. No harm's done. Indeed, his daughter had quickly calmed down, and once she realized Skittles had merely taken a brisk hop step when Benji tugged on its tail. It's not okay. Cassidy came up beside him. Her mouth was tight. He was teasing her horse, and that's against arena rules and my rules. She's fine, Shane insisted, and besides, he apologized. Just because she's not hurt is no excuse for what he did. Something was off in Cassidy's tone. Shane couldn't quite put a finger on it, as if she was talking about something or other than her son and the teasing incident. All right, then how about we punish him? 1 hour of muck and bull manure after school tomorrow. Cassidy nodded in agreement. Seemed fitting. Do I have to? Benji pouted. Yes, you do, young man. That was 65. Now going to 66. Bria giggled. Ha ha, you have to clean up cow poo. Shane set her back atop Skittles when he patted the horse's rump, and the pair moseyed off. Benji followed on Rusty, and his attitude was adjusted. He was just being a boy, Shane told Cassidy. A misbehaving boy. Rather than returning to the bench, and he and Cassidy exited through the gate and continued watching from outside around the pen. He was glad to see that she'd forgotten about leaving, for a moment at least. Experience had taught him that she'd flee at the tiniest provocation. Shane struggled to repress a smile. The women he typically met on the circuit were transparent, making their wants and wishes crystal clear. Cassidy, on the other hand, was a mystery. He liked that about her. Then again, he always appreciated a challenge. Since she hadn't brought up his apology, he did. I'm sorry about the kiss the other day. I got carried away. I've forgotten all about it. Why don't I believe you? No big deal, Shane. Page 67. Wasn't it? He felt something when his lips brushed her cheek, a rather enjoyable, exciting sensation unlike anything before. He'd been certain she felt it too. In any case, I was out of line. Okay, apology accepted. Now, can we talk about something else? How's the massage therapy with Wasabi coming along? Dad says he's improving daily, and she kept her voice light, though the underlying tension was in it unmistakable, which made Shane reluctant to abide by her request. He wasn't ready to drop the subject. Remember that time in Albuquerque when I got thrown? You came running to my rescue then, too. She gaped at him, proving she also remembered. Why did we stop dating, Cassidy? I don't know. We were young and ambitious and both wanted championship titles. She focused her attention on the children. The 2 reliable lesson mounts were placidly placidly circling with their young passengers. "We had a few good times," he said. "You and me, we did." Page 68. "I was jealous when you started dating Hoyt." "Really?" Surprise flared in her eyes. "You never said anything." "Maybe I should have." Her eyes widened. "I didn't think you cared." Shane nodded. Hoyt had been the better choice, or so he told himself. "Do you miss competing?" he asked. "Not at all. My life now is the arena and my son." Had Hoyt's engagement so soon after he broke up with Cassidy hardened her heart? Shane didn't think so. Cassidy had been the one to end things, and she obviously dated other men pretty quickly after Hoyt, given she had a 5-year-old son. "If you don't mind me asking, what happened with you and Hoyt? One minute you were in love, the next you walked out on him." "I do mind you asking. It's been a long time. What was the harm?" Unless she still cared about Hoyt, the thought didn't set well with Shane for reasons he'd rather not examine. "Exactly. It's been a long time, and doesn't matter any more." Grabbing the top of the fence railing, she placed her foot on the bottom of the one and hauled herself up. "Come on, Benji. We really need to go." That was page 68-69. Shane waited until she lowered herself to the ground, and then, before stating the obvious, "Every time I say something you don't like, that makes you uncomfortable, you run off." He half expected her to deny it, but she didn't. "Then stop saying things I don't like, and then that will make me uncomfortable." He chuckled and shook his head. "You're something else, Cassidy Beckett. I'll take that as a compliment." It was intended as one, more so than probably she realized. She entered the pen and fetched her reluctant son. It seemed Benji wasn't done playing with Bria. Shane was glad the two were getting along. He wanted his daughter to fit in at easy money, to make friends. "I suppose we should call it a day, too." He took a hold of Skittles' bride and led the horse in through the gate. "I promised your mother to have you home at 7:30. Bria's features fell. "Can I stay over again?" Page 70. How he wished he could accommodate her. Nothing would make her happier, but he didn't dare push the boundaries of his agreement with Bria's mother, who had been adamant that their daughter attend preschool on weekday mornings. Once he proved himself, then yes, he'd insist on more time. Shane was smart enough to take things slowly. "Sorry, kiddo, but maybe your mom will let you come back this weekend." Judy had mentioned attending a real estate class on Saturday. She might appreciate Shane babysitting. While he and Cassidy unsaddled and brushed down the mounts, the kids played a game of tag in the barn aisle. Benji could have easily won, but he let Bria catch him more than once. "He's good with her," Shane told Cassidy, "considering he's an older boy. He's a year older and a boy." Benji's used to socializing with kids all ages. They're a staple at the arena. Untying Rusty lead rope, she walked ahead. "Come on, Benji. Help me put Rusty in his stall." Bria stared after them, her expression bereft, and Shane cheered her by lifting her back up and setting her on Skittles' bare back. "Hold on to his mane," he instructed, and returned the old horse to his stall. 3 down from Rusty's, Shane used the opportunity to continue conversing with Cassidy. "Maybe next Saturday we can take them on a trail ride together." He heard a lot about the rolling mountains beyond the easy money back pastures, but had not yet found the time to go riding them. "I'm working. The jamboree's in 2 weeks." She was referring to the arena's next big rodeo. Shane would be busy too, yet he couldn't take no for an answer. "How much would it hurt if we quit an hour early?" He removed Skittles' halter and lifted Bria from the horse's back. She scampered over to Benji. "I'm not going on a date with you," Cassidy said. "It's not a date. We're taking a trail ride with Benji and Bria. Invite your friend Tatum and her kids if you want." "Bad idea." She shut the door on Rusty's stall. "Besides, I have other plans, a family function." "We were friends once. We can be again." "It's complicated." Page 72. "Only if you make it complicated." "No." "Why? Because of Hoyt?" "Of course not. You still care for him?" "I don't. He means nothing to me." Shane recalled their brief kiss the other day and the sparks that had ignited between them. "What about me, Cassidy? Do I mean anything to you?" Her sharp intake of breath and flustered denial should have been enough of an answer for him. It wasn't, and Shane more than prepared to see exactly how deep, or not, her feelings for him ran. Most women who owned SUVs did so because they had to pack a children to tote around. That was true for Cassidy and her friend Tatum. Cassie didn't understand why her sister drove one, Liberty always struck her as a consummate cowgirl, more comfortable behind the wheel of a pickup truck than anything else. Oh, I guess we don't have it marked. Sorry, we can move forward and not worry about Liberty right there. Sorry. Page 80. You ever think of what might have happened if you tracked him down sooner before he met his wife? Sure, in the beginning, but I doubt I would have married him, because he likes to drink. Drink and drive, let's not forget that. Growing up with an alcoholic father, former alcoholic, and the rest of her family was quick to point out, Cassidy was the little tolerance for people who imbibed to access. She particularly had no tolerance for people who then got behind the wheel of a vehicle, as her father had the night before he drove his pickup truck into, the house with Cassidy in the front passenger seat. Finally, her mother zipped up her dress, enclosing Cassidy inside layers upon layers of roast taffeta. Shane doesn't drink, and why would that matter to me? I've seen him watching you. Cassidy tugged on the sides of her dress, adjusting the fit. He's just curious at it, that's all. I did once date his brother. More than date him. You two had a... Shh. Mom, this is not here, Cassidy said in a terse whisper. It could explain Shane's curiosity. You think he suspects breathing became difficult. The dress Botus could be responsible for more than likely than her constant anxiety, or he likes you in that way. Cassidy's anxiety increased. This is page 81. She stared at herself in the mirror, not quite seeing the reflection. What bothered her most wasn't that Shane might like her, it was that she might like him back. Yes, in that way. Liberty hailed from dressing room entrance. What's taking so long, you two? Be right there. Cassidy's mother pushed open the double swinging doors, giving Cassidy a final inspection. You're stunning. No one could blame Shane. Cassidy walked out to show her sister a slight unsteadiness to her legs. She hardly reached the podium when her sister snapped a picture with her phone. No decisions were made. Liberty wanted to visit another shop or two first. Cassidy was admittedly relieved and glad when they pulled into the arena driveway 2 hours later. She alone had packages to unload, having made a haul for Benji's birthday at the party supply store. That's page 82. And that's where we're going to stop for tonight because, like I said, I'm going to go get a small workout in. So, number 3 will come your way tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll make more of a dent. But let's not forget, tomorrow is Wednesday. It's also going to be Married at First Sight American Day. So I hope I can just stay awake through it. Anyway, good night. God bless. Wash your hands. Keep your social distance. Wear your mask. Yada yada.